Okay. Just a minute. What's the problem? Can you still see this Google thing? The new Google thing which has come up? Hello?
Yes, I could see Google.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, just a minute.
Yes, on the screen we're seeing Google.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, can you see this notebook on Colab, the list business? Python list?
Yes, it's showing Python list.
Okay, fine. That's good. Okay, so we looked at this bit, I think. Changing the values of a list. I think this we did. Okay, so what we want to do today is we want to look at how to add values to a list. There are two ways to do this. One is to do something called appending. When you append something to a list, it means that you're adding it to the end of a list. Okay? So the first thing we're going to look at is appending a value to a list. That means adding a value to the end of a particular list, one value only. The other one is to insert values into a list. So this way, when you're inserting a value into a list, you have to specify a position or an index before which that value is supposed to be inserted. So the first one, appending, always adds a value at the end of a list. The second one, inserts, you have to specify where that value is supposed to be inserted before which position in a list. Are we clear? So there are two ways we're going to look at: appending and inserting. This is when you're trying to add a value to a list. So the first one we're going to look at is appending. So let's look at our list fish. Okay, so this is our list fish. I hope you still remember it from last time. Now tilapia, now perch, red breast tilapia, catfish, butterfly fish, tiger fish, sawfish, and sunfish. So to this list, you want to add this fish called puka fish. I don't know if you know it, but you want to add it to the end of this list. And how you're going to do that is as follows. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to type the name of the list. Then after typing the name of the list, you're going to put a dot. Then after dot, you're going to type the following word: append. Then inside, after this word, there is a pair of parentheses. Then inside this append, this parentheses, you're going to put the value you want to add to a list. So in this case, we're saying the list we want to add to is fish. And what do you want to do? We want to append, meaning that we want to add this value or this item to the end of this list. So when you do this, okay, that runs. So when you print fish again, then if you check the end of this list, you notice that the value which we gave to append has been added to the list. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
We also do another example. In this case, we want to add carpenter with the same list of fish. So we start with fish, which is the name of the list. then you put a dot, then followed by the word append, then there are these parentheses, then inside these parentheses you put the value you want to add. That's carpenter. So you run that, then you print fish, then you check at the end of the list. After you print it, you see that carpenter has been added at the end there. So that's one way of adding items to your list. Your lists, after you make it, you might decide to add stuff to it. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
You are not restricted to adding items only to an existing list or a list which contains items. We can start here. We start with a list called butterflies, and as you can see, this list is empty. It doesn't have anything. So we create a list and we give it a name, butterflies. And then we print out butterflies. There's nothing there. So now we can start adding one item. You can use append to add values or items to a list one at a time. So we say the name of the list. Now the name of the list is butterflies. Then you put a dot, then append, then the value you want to add. What type of butterfly you want to add? A red admiral. Then you print out butterflies. Now you have your list butterflies with one item there. You do the same thing. We want to add this other one, PHY, to this list at the end. So we say butterflies dot append, then PHY. Then you print out butterflies. You see? Now you have red admiral, then PHY has been added at the end. You want to add another one, this one, common blue. So you say the name of the list, then dot append, then the value you want to add, common blue. Then you print out butterflies. There. So we have our list coming up nicely of butterflies. It has got red admiral, PHY, and common blue. The one thing I want to mention about append is that append only works with lists. Okay? It only works with lists. It doesn't work with anything else. It only works with a list. So you can only append to a list. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with append, as you have seen, values you want to append are always added to the end of the list. Sometimes that's not what you want to do. Sometimes you want to insert a value at a specific position. Specifically, you want to insert a value before that position. So you need to tell Python, say, before this position, I want you to insert this one. Okay? Like that. And what we use, instead of using append this time, what you use is something called a method called insert. So append and insert are things which we call methods, because these are functions which only work with lists. A function which only works with a particular item is called a method. Functions work with everything, but if you've got a function which only works with a specific item, then it's called a method. So here, in our list of butterflies, here you say start with the list, the name of the list, butterflies, then you put a dot, then followed by insert. We are saying that we're telling Python before the index 0. This is just at the beginning. So the index 0 refers to the first position. So before the first position, insert the following value, monarch. This is also another type of butterfly. So we are telling Python before the index 0, insert monarch. So when you do that, so let's see what insert does. Then you print out butterflies. Then this is what you get. So you can see monarch now becomes the first value or the first item in our list of butterflies. Is that clear? Okay. Next, you can choose to insert before any index, any position. For example, we want to insert this type of butterfly orange tip before index 3. So it's basically going to become the fourth item. So we say butterflies dot insert 3 is the index before which you want to insert. Then what do you want to insert? Orange tip. Then you print butterflies. So this is what we get. So now you have monarch, red admiral, PHY. So this is monarch is index 0, red admiral index 1, PHY index 2, then this one index 3. So you basically want, when you put a value there, you want to occupy that index. Okay, you want to insert before that so that your orange tip occupies that index. So you have orange tip, then common blue. The same thing can be done if you want to insert a value before the last, not really last item, but before. So here, so insert always puts the value of told you've given it before that particular index. So in this case, this -1 is the last item. So this eyed brown is going to be inserted before the last item. So it's going to become the second last item. Are we clear? Is it clear? Yes.
I've got a concern.
Yes.
There's a postgraduate student who wanted to get in touch with you and me.
Yes.
She's doing this course, but unfortunately she can't access Moodle. She's using Astra.
Yes.
So
I was trying to save her number.
I tried to give her your line.
Yes, I was trying to save her number, but my phone couldn't save it. So I don't know what to, we have to. She got in contact. I tried to save her number, but it failed. So I have to try again later. Yeah, in the meantime, she'll have to watch the videos. Okay.
Alright.
Yes. So in this case, we are going to insert eyed brown before the last item. So like that. Then when you print, butterflies here. So the last item, as you can see, was common blue. Before the last item, eyed brown. So, two ways to add values to a list. One is to append. When you append, which is the easiest, your values you're adding to the list are always added at the end of the list. The other one is to insert. When you insert, you have to tell Python at what position you want your value to be inserted before, because these values are always inserted before that particular index. So you specify the index. It's not going to be inserted at that particular index, no. It will be inserted before. Eventually it's going to become that particular index. Is that clear? So two ways. The next thing we're going to look at is when you've got a list, apart from adding items from a list, is that sometimes you want to remove items from a list. And there are three ways of doing this. The first method involves using the position of an item in a list and using a function called delete. So the first method involves you telling Python the position where the item is you want to delete. So you tell the position and delete. The second one involves using position and something called the pop method. The third one involves giving the value of what the item you want to remove and using something called remove. So there are two methods which involve position, where you're required to give the position. That is by using the delete function, and also by using something called the pop method. Then you can also remove stuff from a list by using if you know the value of the item you want to remove from the list. So if the value is known, you can also use that to remove stuff from a list. So let's start with removing items from a list using position and the delete function. So we'll play around with a list of animals. So we print it. Okay, so that's our list of animals currently. So there's tiger, there's kangaroo, giraffe, hippo, camel, elephant, panda, rabbit, dog, zebra, horse, rhino, monkey, tiger, cat. In these lists, we want to remove the fifth item, which is camel. The fifth item in the list has got the index 4. So the way you remove items from a list using this delete is you start with the name of the function. So you type delete like that, then it's a function, so it has got this parenthesis, then inside this parenthesis you type the name of the lists where you want to remove an item. In this case, the name of the list is animals. Then after animals, 2 square brackets. Inside these square brackets, you type the index or the position in the list where the value you want to remove is located. So you start with delete function, you type delete, then inside the delete function, you type the name of the list, then after the name of the list in the square brackets, you type the position or the index of the item you want to remove from the list. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
So you start with the delete function, type delete, followed by the name of the list, then followed by square brackets. In the square brackets, the position of the item you want to remove. This is going to happen very quietly, as if nothing has happened. It's only when you print out animals again, that's when you notice that camel, which came after hippo, so the hippo, then camel, elephant, now hippo, it's missing, it's no longer there. See, after hippo there was camel. Now you notice that the value for camel has been deleted. It's now followed by elephant. So the delete function goes about removing a value from a list very quietly. It will not tell you any confirmation. It will not give you any confirmation that something has been deleted. The other one is another example is if you want to remove the first item from a list. The first item has got index 0. So in this case, you start with delete. That is a function. Then the name of the list you want to delete things from, which is animals, then followed by square brackets, and the index of the item you want to remove. You want to remove the first item from this list, and that first item is tiger. So once tiger is removed, kangaroo should become the first. Like that. Then you print animals. There. So you can see tiger has been removed. So again, you don't get any confirmation that something has been removed. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
If you want to remove the last item from your list, in this case the last item is cat. So you again proceed with delete, then the name of the list, animals, then inside the square brackets, the position of the item you want to remove. It's a last item, and it doesn't matter how long the list is, but -1 always works for the last item. Like that. So that works. Then you print animals, then you check the last item, see if cat is still there. Cat is gone. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The other way to remove an item from a list is to use a method called pop. Now, if you look at what we've been using here, you've been using delete. Delete is a function, the same as print is a function. So what the way functions work, like in the case of lists, is you with the function, then you give it a list. Here with the print function, then you give it the list animals. So functions accept lists. Okay? Is that clear? You're with a function print, then you give it a list. You're with the function delete, then you give it a list and some position. Now, when it comes to a method, methods work differently. Methods work as follows. You start with the name of the list, then you put a dot, then the name of the method. It's a type of function, but it works only with lists. Are we clear? Lists, functions and methods, they do things. Okay, they do certain tasks, but a function can work on a list, it can work on other things. A method can only work on one particular thing. In this case, we are looking at another example of a method which only works on a list. So far we have looked at append, we have looked at insert. Now we are looking at another example of a method which works on a list, which is pop. So let's print the list insects. Now, so we start with, there is ant there, and the last, I want you to focus on the last item. The last item there is wasp. Okay. Now, if I say the name of the list, which is insects, then we put a dot, then we say pop, just like this, the way it is. You will notice something. When this runs, it shows you a particular value which has been popped. Wasp. This wasp, as you might conclude, is the last item in this list. If you print out insects again, you notice that wasp is no longer there. Now the last item is tick. So wasp has actually been removed from the list using pop. Have you seen this?
Yes, sir.
So what the pop method does, if you do not tell it anything about the position of the item you want to remove, you just say insect.pop, it's going to remove the last item. It's doing the opposite of append. Are we clear? It does the opposite of append. If you just say pop, it will remove the last item from the list. Like that. Is that clear? We can try it again by saying insects.pop. Then if you run that, you see the value which gets popped. Tick. Tick is the last item there. It's the last value in the list insects. If you print, insects, tick will no longer be there. There'll be no tick because it has been popped. Now it's scorpion. So the difference between delete and pop is that delete does things very quietly. Okay? When you pop a value, Python shows you the value which has been popped. It's like giving you confirmation, say, oh, this is the value I've removed from the list. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
So apart from showing you which value has been removed from a list, you can actually also tell the pop method to remove an item from a list which is located at a particular position. For example, here, you tell pop you want to remove the 5th item in the list insects. So in this case, you're going to say insects.pop, then you put the number 4. That number 4 is the index of the 5th item. So with pop, when you give it a number, it actually, instead of removing the last item, which if you don't give it a number is going to do, you can tell it to remove a specific value at a particular position. So in this case, it tells you, oh, I've popped cockroach. If you print out list insects, now cockroach is no longer there. You can also tell Python, you can also tell pop, say you want to pop the first item in the list. So the first item now is ant. So if you run this, it tells you, okay, I've popped ant. So ant is not on the list anymore. If you print insects, now you have got B. Is this clear? Is it clear what the pop thing is doing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so one thing, the first about pop is if you don't give pop a position, it's going to remove the last item in the list. If you give pop a position, an index, it's going to remove that particular item at that particular position. Then the third thing about pop is that pop is going to show you the value it has removed. Okay? Now the fact that pop can show you the value it has removed, you can actually get this value it has popped. You can store it in a variable. For example, in this case, now the first item is B. So we want to pop the B. Then after we pop it, we want to store it in a variable called popped item. Then we want to print it later. So here, this part, insects dot pop 0. So this is going to remove from the list. It's going to remove B, but it will not do this. It will not display it to us because we want to store this value in a variable called popped item. So if you have got any use, if you want to remove an item from a list, then you intend to use that particular item you are removing from a list in somewhere else. You want to store it and use it later for something else, but you still want to remove it from a list. You can do something like this. So you store the value, the popped value. It won't show it, but if you print popped item, you're going to see B. So this is how you could do two things at once. One, remove an item from a list, and two, after you remove that item, you store the item you have removed from a list, you store it in a variable, then print it later. When you remove a value using delete, you can't store the value. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yes, when you use delete function to remove a value from a list, you cannot store that value. But pop, apart from being noisy, showing you, well, this is what I've removed, and also having the ability to remove a last item, and whichever item, when you give it a position, the popped value can also be stored in a variable, then you can use it later for something else. So that's how we remove stuff using pop. The other way to remove items, now this time around, you don't use position, but you use the value of an item, is to use what is known as the remove method. So we go back to our list of fish. Now let's see how this one works. It's a method. Okay, so here is our list of fish. So what do you want to remove? So you say the name of the list. It's a method. The name of the list, then you put a dot, then remove. Now remove does not accept a number. Remove accepts a value. What is the actual value of the item you want to remove? We want to remove this guy, red breast tilapia. So you put the value here. red breast tilapia. You don't put the number with remove. So when you remove, again, you don't see anything. So remove is very quiet also. Then you print fish. So now you see the red breast tilapia is no longer there. It was number what? Now tilapia page, it was number 3. Now it's no longer there. Now 1, 2, 3. It has been removed. You see that? Remove, like delete, is also quiet. But you use a value. Then if you want to remove this sawfish, which is here, sawfish, if you want to remove that, there, you say the name of the list, which is fish, you put a dot, then remove, then the value you want to remove, sawfish. You run that, very quiet again. It doesn't show you what it has removed. It just hopes that you have done the right thing. You wanted to remove the right thing. And if you check here, before sunfish, there was sawfish. Then now after that, sunfish, the sawfish was there has been removed. Sawfish was between tigerfish and sunfish. Here, somewhere here. It's no longer there. Are we clear on how we remove items from a list? By using the delete function with the position of the item, by using the position and the pop method, by using the value of the item and the remove method. Is this clear?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Next, we move on how you can organize your lists. There are a couple of things you can do with a list. You can sort your lists so you arrange things nicely, but you can sort your list permanently or you can sort your list temporarily. So you can do a sorting, you can do a sort. You can also reverse the order of items in a list. So basically there are 3 things you can do. Sort your list permanently or sort your list temporarily and reverse the order of items in lists. And that's what you're going to find out how to do. So let's start with how do you permanently sort your list. So for you to do a permanent sort of your list, you need to use something called the sort method. And we're going to see how this works. So here we create a list of cars, car brands that we start with: BMW, Audi, Toyota, Subaru, Mazda, Jeep, Mercedes-Benz, Fiat, Kia, Maruti, Ford, BYD. So this is a list of cars. They have not been sorted in alphabetical order. You have to create it like that for that particular purpose. Then we print out the cars. Now, if I say cars, which is the name of the list, then I put a dot, then I say sort, like this. When I run this, things happen quietly. Then I print the cars now. Now the same list of cars, things have been arranged differently. Here, when I printed it earlier, it started with BYD, Audi, Toyota, Subaru, Mazda, Jeep, Mercedes, Fiat, Kia, Maruti, and stuff like that. Now here, it starts with Audi, BMW, BYD, Fiat, Ford, Jeep, Kia, Maruti, Mazda, Mercedes, Subaru, Toyota. So you can see that your list has now been arranged alphabetically. Are we clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, maybe you want to sort it, but you want it in reverse. You want to start with Toyota, then Subaru, Mercedes, Mazda, Maruti. You want to start from this end, going the other way like this. So what you're going to do in such a case, you're going to say cars, that's the name of the list, then you put a dot, then sort. Then inside this sort, there is this. You say reverse equals to true. So you want to reverse the list. You're asking Python, say, oh, should I reverse the list or not? Should I sort it, then show it to you in a reversed way? If you say true, then the following is going to happen. Then you print cars. Now it starts with Toyota, Subaru, Mercedes, Mazda, Maruti, Kia, Jeep, Ford, Fit, all the way up to Audi. So this is what happens when you set your reverse inside this sort. When you set reverse equals to true, then it flips the sorted list. Okay? So it reverses the sorted list so that it starts from the end going to the beginning, but it has already been sorted. This is a permanent way of changing your lists so that it's arranged alphabetically. Are we clear? Is this clear? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Sometimes you don't want to change your lists permanently. You just want to do it temporarily. Okay? You just want to sort your list temporarily. If you want to sort your list temporarily, then you're going to use something called, you're going to use a function called sorted. So there are two things you might notice we're using. We're using a method and we're using a function. Methods and functions do specific tasks. So in the case of the sorted method, the sorted function, we used sort here, method sort. Then here we're going to use a function called sorted. In the case of the sorted function, it also accepts you can reverse the sorted list, but this thing is not sorted permanently. It's just right there and then for a short amount of time. So we recreate our list of cars. Here it is. We print it. Then we do this. We print the sorted list. Then inside print, we have sorted. Then inside sorted, we put cars. Okay? Print sorted list. So when you do that, this is what we get. We get Audi, BMW, BYD, Fiat, Ford, like that. It looks like what we had before. But if we print cars again, we notice that cars has not changed. Cars is still what it was. So what sorted does is that sorted does not change the list cars. Okay? Sorted does not change the list cars. What sorted does is that it copies the list cars, then it rearranges the copy, then it shows us the rearranged copy, the sorted copy. Okay? It's like you've got money, then you photocopy the money, then you do something with that photocopied money. That's what sorted is doing here. It copies the list cars, so the list cars itself is not changed. Okay? Then it sorts the copy, then it shows us the copy, the sorted copy. That's what you've seen here. Otherwise, the original list cars itself remains unchanged. The same thing here. You can also do a reverse of the sorted thing. The same reverse we did with the method sort. So here if we say print sorted, then we give it the lists we want to sort cars. Then after that we say, yeah, we want this sorted list in reverse. And this is what we get. Again, if we print cars, we find that cars, we find that cars itself is unchanged. Are we clear? So this is how you sort your lists temporarily by using the sorted function, and if you want to do it permanently, then you use the sort method. The sort method allows you to sort your list permanently. The sorted function allows you to sort your list temporarily. Any questions? The next thing we need to look at is how do you reverse a list. You can reverse a list using what is known as a reverse method. Reversing a list is not the same as sorting a list. It is just rearranging the same list from last to first. For example, we have this list of cars, BMW, Audi, Toyota, Subaru, stuff. When we reverse this list, the last items are going to be the first items and the first shall be the last. So we say the name of the list, then you put a dot, then reverse. Reverse is a method. The one thing I want you to notice about methods is you start with the list, then you put a dot, then methods. For a function, you just start with the name of the function, then inside the parentheses, you put in the list. For example, this print is a function, the name of the function, then inside here, you put in the list. For a method, you start with the lists, then you put a dot, followed by the method, reverse, then there's nothing there. So when you do this, cars.reverse, it does things quietly, then you print cars. Now you see your list has been reversed. This one here was ending with BYD, Ford, Mahindra, Kia. If you look at this one, it starts with Ford, BYD, Ford, Mahindra, Kia. So it's the reverse of what you have before. So if you want, then here, BMW, Audi, Toyota, Subaru. Look at this end here, BMW, Audi, Toyota, Subaru. So the list has been flipped like that. Without being sorted, the list has just been flipped. You can do a reverse again. If you do a reverse again of the list, cars list, then you print, it reverses back to what it was. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have seen how to add values to a list by appending and inserting. When you're appending and inserting, you're only adding one value to a list. We have also seen how to remove values from a list by using the position of the item and the delete function, using the position of the item and the pop function, using the value of the item and the remove method. We have seen also how to organize a list by sorting the list temporarily using the sorted method, the sorted function, or by sorting the list permanently using the sorted method and by doing a reverse. Sometimes you want to add more than one item to a list. If that's what you want to do, then you have to use a method called extend. If you want to add more than one item to a list, then you have to use a method called extend. So here we have our lists of even numbers. There it is, even numbers. We've got another one here, odd numbers. Then I create an empty list called numbers here. Okay, I can print it to confirm that it's actually empty. I can say print numbers. Print numbers. So you see it's empty. Now what I want to do is I want to add this list of even numbers. I also want to add this list of odd numbers to this list even numbers. So how am I going to do that? So I start with the name of the lists I want to add things to, which is numbers. At the moment it's empty. Then I put a dot, then I say extend. Then inside the extend, which is a method, what values do I want to add? I want to add all the values which are in this list called even numbers. So I want to extend numbers by even numbers. So I drew that. When I print out numbers now, numbers is no longer empty. Numbers is now populated with the values which were contained in this list even numbers, 6 items. So I have added 6 items to the list numbers. If I want to add more items to this list numbers, I want to add the list of odd numbers, then I'll say again, then numbers, then dot extend, then the list of odd numbers. When I do this, Python doesn't complain. When I print out numbers, now this is what I have. So these firsts were the even numbers, then these were the odd numbers. As you can see, this list needs a bit of work if we're going to call it a list of numbers, because we need to work on it. And one of the things we can do is we can sort it permanently so that we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we say, okay, fine, it needs a bit of work. We need to organize this thing, extended list numbers. So we say numbers dot sort without doing anything else. We just say numbers dot sort. So our lists numbers get sorted. Now when we print numbers, this is what we get. So we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is this clear on how you extend a list? And most likely after you extend the list, a bit of work might be needed on it. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After you extend the list, you might want to do a couple of things. Let's see. Let's finish up this thing. You might want to find the length. You want to find out how many items are in that list. This is where the length function comes in. We use the length function, length, in short len, for length. Then you give it the lists. So when you do this, it will tell you how many items or how many values are in that list. So in this case, length, numbers, it tells you 12. Say the list numbers has got 12 items. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
You can say length, what else? Insects. It will tell you how many insects are there left in your thing, in your list insects. There are 9 insects left. So that's how you get how many items are in your list. You can check if a particular value is in a list. If you have got a list, a long list, then you're looking for a particular value. You can find out if that value is in a list or not. And how do you do that? You use something called the in keyword. So you need to have the value. You need to know the value you're checking for. Then you also need to know the list in which you want to look. For example, here, I want to check if the value Honda is in the list cars. So I type Honda, that's the value I want to check for, Honda in cars. If Honda is actually a value in the list cars, then Python is going to give me a value of true. If it's not a value in the list cars, then it gives me a value of false. So we get a false. Honda is not in cars. There is a value we know is actually in cars, and that is Audi. This one, we know it's there. Okay, Audi in cars. That's true. Here you could also have done something else. You can say Honda. You say Honda not in cars. This Honda not in cars. If it's not there, then it gives you a true. Then if you say Audi not in cars, Audi not in cars. We know Audi is in cars, so this not in cars business is going to give us a false value. Get a false. Are we clear on how you check if a particular value is in a list or not? So when you're checking for membership, you get either a true or a false, depending on whether what you're looking for is in that list or not. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's push on to the end. The other thing is copying. Now, for you to properly copy something, for you to properly copy a list, you need to use a slice. You need to copy using a slice. If you want to copy everything in a list properly, you need to use a slice. If you do not copy, if you do this, you want to make a copy of the list A, then you want to store it as B. When you do this, B equals to A, not A, sorry, the list A being stored in B. What this does with a list is that it creates a nickname for A. So you're still talking about the same list A, but you have given it a nickname, and that nickname is also called an alias. Okay? So the list being referred to the nickname is the same list. You're referring to the same thing now that the thing has got two names. If you want to copy something properly, you have to copy it like this. Like this. B, then A with a slice. The list A needs to have a slice. That slice, as we know, is going to copy everything in the list A. Then everything in the list A is going to be stored in B. This way, when you do a copy like this, A and B are going to be two different lists. In the other case, this A and B are the same list. So if you do something to A, then the same thing happens to B. Let's see how this works. We have a list of cars. Okay, so this is our list of cars. We have printed it out. So when you do this, cars, this is the list, then you say rides. Python doesn't complain. So when you print rides, you will think that, oh, you have a new list, which is a copy of cars. So let's see if rides and cars are the same list or they're two different lists. So we are going to do something to rides. So we're going to sort rides. We will sort rides. Then after we sort rides, we print rides to see if it has been sorted. Okay, rides has been sorted. That's good. Then we also print cars. You see cars? Cars has also been sorted. But if you look here, there is nowhere where we are sorting cars. What we sorted is rides. The reason why cars has been sorted is because rides and cars are one and the same thing. Rides is a nickname for cars. So rides and cars, it's the same list. So whether you use rides to sort or you use cars, it's the same thing. Is that clear? When you copy like this, when you copy a list like this, you're not doing anything. What you're just doing is you're creating a nickname for the list. Let's look at another example of the same. From the list cars, we remove Mercedes-Benz. Rights has got Mercedes-Benz somewhere, I'm sure. Here it is. Mercedes-Benz in rights, it's present. It's also present in cars, Mercedes-Benz. So we remove Mercedes-Benz from cars. Then we check if Mercedes-Benz is present in rights. There. Mercedes-Benz is no longer present in rights. So that shows us that actually what we did when we did this, when we made this copy, this kind of copying, cars, we copy the list cars into rights. This was not really a proper copying. This was just creating another name for the list cars. Is that clear? On copying, how you are supposed to copy things. It's certainly not that way. If you want to copy things properly, this is what you're supposed to do. Cars, then after that, a slice. In this case, you copy everything, then you store it in a separate list called supercars. You print supercars, okay, there it is. You also print cars. Certainly Mahindra is not a supercar, so we remove from supercars, we remove Mahindra. Then we check if Mahindra is in supercars. Mahindra in supercars false because it has been removed. Then we check for Mahindra in cars. It's still there. So now we have got two different lists because we have removed Mahindra from supercars, but it's still there in cars. So this shows us that what we have are two different lists. We remove Fiat from supercars. We check if Fiat is in supercars, still in supercars. False. We check if Fiat is still in cars. True. We print the cars, the list cars. We also print the list supercars, and we see that these two lists are different. The one for supercars is definitely shorter than the one for cars. Are we clear? Are we clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the last item is how do you delete a list? We have seen how to delete an item from a list using the delete function. You start with, when you're using the delete function, you started with delete, then inside delete, the name of the list, then after the name of the list, square brackets, the position of the item you want to delete. That is, if you want to delete a value from a list. How about if you want to delete the whole list? What do? It's very, very simple. So here, you type delete, then you type the name of the list you want to delete. That's all. Delete, then inside the delete function, you put the name of the list you want to delete. Like that. Then after that, if you print supercars, you try to print supercars, Python tells you, there's a problem. Something called a name error. Name supercars is not defined. It has failed to find supercars. This list called supercars. The reason why it has failed to find it is because the list has been deleted. All of it. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? We have come to the end of what we need to learn about lists, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, so any questions on what you have learned so far? We learned how to create lists. We learned how to access a value from a list using an index. We learned how to access multiple values from a list using a slice. We also learned how to do access subsetting, then all these other things. Any questions?
No.
You've got no questions? Mape?
No questions.
Questions?
No question.
Okay, so if you've got no questions, then yesterday was a holiday. We are definitely not going to have a makeup class. We're just starting the year. So we're going to meet on Friday. So hopefully on Friday we're going to look at something which is related, a list which you can't change called a tuple. And yeah, let's see how that goes. Fridays. So see you on Friday.
Alright, thank you.
But the other thing I wanted to ask, at 12 hours, what are you doing on Friday? Do you have a class?
12 hours? No. But I think I have to check the timetable.
Okay, check the timetable so that maybe we can shift, because our class runs from 13 to end of 15. So I want to shift it from 12 to 14.
Okay, I'll let you know then. I'll send a text.
Okay, fine. So check please as soon as possible. Then let me know so that if we can shift it, we shift it to 12 to 13.
Okay, sir.
All right, cheers.
Okay.
See you on Friday.